Hello everyone, and thanks for watching. Today I'm going to show you a piece of evidence that, or potential evidence that I've found at Site 1 that was there at the beginning of March, and I honestly believe that we're dealing with a potential Bigfoot tree knocking stick. And I'm going to show you the stick in question and the reasons for my deducing that this is the case. But first of all, I just want to say I'd like to keep the site location secret. I'd like to keep my identity private, and for this reason I work better alone. And the fact of the matter is that I do know from one of Neil Young's videos that since he's actually mentioned the site location that he looks at, Harwood Forest, that he's been descended upon by lots of different people, all looking for a slice of the action. Some just for a laugh and a joke, camping there. Some might be hoaxing there. So he's dealing with other factors now that he wasn't dealing with before. And there is potential, of course, that any activity there will just dry up and move away. So for me, and for the benefit of people that are watching these videos, it's best that I keep this site under wraps and report to you in the best fashion I can, so I can keep it the evidence that I do find in an open forum, so you can look in other locations for similar features and report back if you're finding the same. And I do honestly believe that we're dealing with an unknown species of hominid, alive and well and keeping very, very hidden in the UK countryside. And you know, it's no longer a joke. I think in North America we're getting very close to the evidence, scientific, factual evidence to support the claim that Bigfoot is alive and well. It's not just eyewitness reports and the likes. It's actual scientific evidence, DNA. But in the UK, I think we're up against the same issue here. There is anecdotal evidence, but physical evidence is a different matter entirely. And this is what I'm trying to put together here in some of these videos, is that I can look at these things and report back to you, and you can do the same. If there's other stuff going on in your part of the woods, neck of the woods, so to speak, then you can look for similar sort of features there and report on that. But for me, I'd like to keep this particular location under wraps and just report to you the stuff that I find. And some of the stuff I'm just finding recently is very similar to that stuff that Neil Robson found in Harwood Forest, like sticks stuck in the ground. I only found a few of those so far, but I'm looking for them now. A little bit more aware of those sorts of features, which might be unique to the UK Bigfoot. That could well be the case. I mean, there's lots of features here that you don't see like you do in America, and there could be good, valid reasons for that. But again, there's stuff that does appear where I'm looking at anyway, that is very similar to that reported in America, like the substantial tree arches, the tree structures. Not all of them are massive like they are in America, but I've only scratched the surface of the place that I'm looking at, and there's a wider area. So in order to get the full context of what's going on where I'm looking, you know, you need to look at the bigger picture. So the stuff that I'm reporting on so far is only scratching the surface of the locality, but I'm continuing to look, and the more I look, the more stuff I find. So anyway, let's show you the alleged tree knocking stick. Now, This was found right next to the multiple tree arch at the north end of Site 1 at the beginning of March, and it was definitely left within the 10-day period between the end of February and the very beginning of March. And I know that for certain because I went to the location around about the 26th, I think, the 24th, 22nd maybe, I don't know, but it was within the last week of February, and I did a video of that particular tree arch, and there was nothing there. This stick was not there. Came back first week in March, don't know the exact date, but it's on video, and it was lying there next to this tree arch, this multiple tree arch, which you see in the video too. Now, as you can see, it's a really solid piece of wood, very solid. The fact that it was being cut and is hard means it is not from Site 1. It is not at all from Site 1 because it's quite fresh and it's been cut, so it's being carried into Site 1. So we've got to look at the possibility of it being human. Alright? I cannot discount the fact that there is a very, very slight possibility that it could have been a human carrying this into the area. Alright? I've got to accept that there is a slight possibility. Very, 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 very slight possibility. But you've got to remember that I've been having trail cams I've had 2 trail cameras covering Site 1 for 4-5 months of last year, and it didn't spot a soul going through that area, not once. Okay, but then in a 2-week period or 10-day period at the end of February, when hardly anyone would be walking around the woods, and why would they be walking in the middle of the woods? Because they're hardly going to be foraging. And then this is left there, all right, and it's next to a tree arch. There might be, a coincidence there, but I don't buy it. I don't buy it, and I don't buy it for lots of different reasons. And one of the reasons is that it was during that period that we had those 2 trees that got pushed down. One of them was across the path, the forest path that I used to come along to Site 1, and also at that location which you saw in the video of being within 15 feet of one of the trees that was covering Site 1 with a trail camera. Alright? Coincidence? Maybe. And you can see by the roots, how solid the roots were. That would have taken a lot of wind because it didn't have branches at the top end, so it would have just been like a pole sticking out of the ground. And yet that tree was pushed down, but loads of others weren't. Alright, or weren't blown down. And we didn't have that strong a wind during that time period. Alright? But we had really, really strong wind a few weeks later. And it pushed down some really, really big trees. But nothing was actually affected in Site 1 during that strong wind. Alright, so that was one of those sort of coincidental or not, but I've got my own reservations about what actually happened there. And it was also during that period that we had a fresh tree sapling break as well. Okay, so this was left during that period. So let me talk about this tree branch in question. Alright, it's about 5 foot long, around about sort of waist height. It's really thick and solid at that end. Turn it around to this side, you can see it's been snapped, so it's like a pointed part at that end. It's got a nice feature there, which I would use, if I was holding this, about to hit a tree with it, that would be one of the obvious grips for holding it with. Okay. As you can see here, this end. The funny thing is, what I've got to draw your attention to is that you can see the bark has been taken off that area there, pretty much in a uniform way. Alright, here you can see the coloration. Alright, coloration here, quite nice, like a varnish, but that's just the underside of the bark that has left its coloration. If you look at the bottom here, there's wear. Alright, this is what I want to stress. It's got wear to it. Not just slight wear, it's got continued use wear. Alright, so that area there is all worn. So it looks like it's been used for pushing down the ground, walking along with. Okay, and for that handle there, that might be part of the reason. Okay, but if you flip it over, the wear on the varnish here is all gone. It's been worn away. And if you look at it really close up, you can see the tree fibres are all roughed up. Okay, and there's markings along it. Okay, and if you feel it, it feels a bit undulating, but it is really solid. It's like concrete. Okay, why is that like that, whereas on the other side it's not at all? Well, this is where the tree knocking theory comes into place. If you were to hold it like you were going to bash it against a tree, and that feels comfortable the way it's being held, alright, then that side is the likely side for it to be hit. Hence, potentially, why we've got this sort of wear to the end. Okay, but that's not it. That's not it. And it's only recently I've been looking at this and scratching my head on this. But look at this bit here, alright? Look, follow it around. It's uniformly had the bark taken off it, alright? And if you were to hold it there and there, okay, that's comfortable. Alright? If you were using this as a tree knocking stick and you wanted to maximise the sound or to cut down the vibration going through the stick itself, then you'll take the bark off here and you'll be holding it there, alright? You'll be holding it so the vibrations don't come through the bark, it comes through your fingers, through the wood itself. So it's cutting down the vibrations. Likewise at this end, why the bark has probably been taken off this side. Okay. Now when I first picked it up I thought, wow, that looks like a perfect looking tree knocking stick, and I wanted to do a test with it. And on a video it shows me wanting to experiment doing a test in front of the camera, but it's only when I had a closer look, and this is why some of the bark is missing here, because that's me responsible for taking it off. Okay, I had a look and then I noticed that it's got this massive fracture through it, right? So it's a massive impact fracture. And why do I say that? Again, if I'm holding it like I'm going to hit the tree with it, if you use that side, the worn side, to knock the tree with, if you were to come directly down the centre of the branch to the point where the impact occurred, you'll see that's dead centre with the impact breakage. Now if you're holding it just there, you're putting pressure on the stick there. So if you're bashing a tree, the stress is going to happen there, not down here, there. Alright? That is solid. It gets thinner and thinner and thinner until you get to there where you're holding it. So that the possible weakness will be just here, and that is exactly where you've got your fracture. Okay? And it's dead center. So the maximum stress was there, so it split the wood to the core, and the rest of the side has remained unaffected. But that would correspond with an impact fracture. So if somebody was walking along using this as a walking stick, if a human was walking along using it as a walking stick, would they have been bashing a tree with it, or bashing something else with it to cause it to break? So my argument for it being human is no. One, because it's had a lot of use. There's a lot of wear to it. If a human was carrying it around, it would have been discarded. Yes, it could have been picked up by somebody else, but I don't see people wandering around with sticks as walking sticks in the wood, and you don't get people walking through Site 1. So my conclusion is, for the various reasons that I've suggested, the fact that we've got the bark stripped there where you've been holding it, looks like it could have been held there as well, maybe, but I don't know, but certainly there, it being discarded next to the multiple tree arch. It's got a massive impact structure, and it's associated with the trees being pushed over and the sapling break, recent sapling break, all signs of potential recent activity, and this is left there. If we're dealing with an irate hominid, maybe you took it out on this stick, pushed the trees over and then bashed this against something or other. I think he must be pretty annoyed that he'd actually lost his favourite stick. Now, do Bigfoots carry sticks with them? That's the question here. In answer to that, I would have to say, from circumstantial evidence that was accumulated to date, that yes, they do. And even if you look at some of M.K. Davis's reports, you can actually understand that from his assessment of the Patterson-Gibnham film, that Patty was actually carrying a stick with her when she was filmed. Alright, it was only a small one, and if you look at the frames, the individual frames in question related to this, then yeah, you can see something there, and yeah, strong chance are it was a stick. It was probably only a foot long, but it was a stick. And there's lots of other videos online. Some of them, yeah, okay, there's got to be a fair number of those that are hoaxes, but some of them may well just be genuine and have captured Bigfoots carrying sticks with them as well. So yes, if this is what I think it is, then it is very, very, very powerful evidence supporting the theory that these upright hominids are alive and well and living secretly in the countryside of the United Kingdom. Now, I haven't seen anything in America reportedly confirming that a Bigfoot stick, tree knocking stick, has been recovered. So if this is the case, then this is even more important and significant. So I know a lot of people will probably say, oh yeah, well, there's no Bigfoot in the United Kingdom. Yeah, okay, fair enough. People are reporting these things for no apparent reason. 10 years ago, within the last 10 years, there's been 2 reports, both north and south, of this particular site location, ever reporting Bigfoot type creatures. So within a 15-mile radius, within the last 10 years, reports to the north and to the south. Okay. The one to the south was by very, very respectable eyewitness, double eyewitness report. So they're here, and I know from historical reference that we can actually deduce that they must have been here, because they're reported upon in manuscripts and medieval documents and the like. So, and why do we got the name Woodwuss, Wild Man of the Woods? You know, so I honestly believe they're still here. I honestly believe that they're at Site 1. I honestly believe that they're responsible for making the tree arches and other tree features, tree breakages, sapling breaks, pushing the trees over. And I honestly believe that this is actual powerful evidence of what you would class as a tool from one of these creatures. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna end the video here. Just looking at this, and if you do have any thoughts on this, and I know a lot of people are just going to immediately discount it and say, yeah, well, there's no Bigfoot in the United Kingdom, so it's just a stick. And then secondly, it can't be a Bigfoot stick because nobody's actually recovered one before to know what they look like, to know what sort of features you would connect with a tree knocking stick. But if this is what I think it is, then this could be the very first, and from a very unlikely source. Yes, from the United Kingdom. But here it is, and I'd like to hear anyone else's thoughts on this. But yeah, for me, I'm convinced on this, because I don't honestly believe it's a human carrying us into Site 1 during that week, 10-day period in the end of February, beginning of March. Plus those trees, I can't buy it that the wind was responsible for knocking those 2 over, and the fact that the context that they're in, one across the path and one right next to the tree that I put the trail camera on. So yeah, very odd. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope it's been insightful. I'm really impressed with the stuff that's coming out of Site 1, but again, there's so much frustration as well. I know in America, going out searching for Bigfoot is frustrating as well. It's the same here, and I still haven't found those golden footprints which I'm really looking for, purely and simply because there's so much damn leaf litter covering the forest floors, and the unlikely, I mean, they are aware, they're self-conscious of the impression they make in the environment, and that they try to avoid leaving footprints. And I haven't been able to find a single footprint yet that I can actually clearly say is something of a Bigfoot type origin. I've found lots of features, prints, that are too big for native species, but there isn't enough evidence there to warrant doing a cast and deducing it as a Bigfoot type creature. I found foot slips, I found what could be potentially toe imprints, and I found prints that are big but just so old that it could have been anything, but they're much bigger than a human footprint. So I'm still looking, and now the winter's gone, chance of finding them now is pretty much zero, if it was anything above zero over the winter period. So I'm still looking, but yeah, these sorts of things that I am finding, and I'm going to continue looking and hopefully find something that's a bit more conclusive, and photographic evidence would be, of an actual specimen, would be fantastic. But we know how wonderful they are at hiding, so chances are I'm very unlikely. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll carry on the search and report back if I find anything else.